Hello, good morning and welcome to ET Now's The Newspaper Show with me, Varun Hiremath. Before we go any further, let me say it's needless to remind you the newspapers are completely safe. Please go to wantmypaper.com where you can explore all the delivery options available for newspapers to your residence. I repeat again, wantmypaper.com if you are interested in the newspaper. With that being said, let's now get a move on. We have a lot of headlines to cover this morning, and let's begin with the Economic Times Top 10. Beginning with the fact that something actually the ET Now news break has now been confirmed that was done on July 12th. Carlyle is readying a 5,000 crore cheque for Axis Bank. FB Oversight Board to probe political bias. Adani Green in talks to raise $1.35 billion overseas. Apple becomes the first US firm to hit a $2 trillion market cap. Compensation to states on GST Council's agenda. Jury to pick the brightest of Startup Inc. today. Maintain reform push to reverse slowdown, says WB. First rockets made by private sector, test fired. Handset makers may hire 50,000 people by this year end. And Dream 11 to be the IPL's title sponsor only for 2020. Let's now bifurcate for you. Market versus corporate. The top 5 market headlines begin with SBI raising 8,931 crore via bonds. Catholic Syrian Bank puts brakes on merger plans due to COVID. Cement stocks ready to build on price gains. Yes petition against Z promoters dismissed. Fed may keep aggressive stimulus measures. Let's now go over to the corporate headlines. The government is to trim its holding in IRCTC via an OFS. DRL launches Favipiravir brand for COVID. Big boys may reshape Indian e-pharma. Virus won't affect Kia Motors India plans. And finally, auto part output may recover by this festive season. Okay, let's now get on board with our first story, and this is page 1 of the Economic Times. Like I just flagged off moments ago, it's an ET Now news break that was done on July 12th that Axis Bank would be raising, or rather getting 5,000 crores from investors Carlyle. It seems that this is now pretty much on the anvil and it should be happening any day now. This will come in addition to the capital raise that Axis Bank has just completed. And saw fairly strong institutional interest from marquee investors. But Poonam's here right now to walk us through what this deal means for Axis. Good morning, Poonam. Welcome to the show. Could you walk us through the fine print, please?
Well, good morning, Varun. In fact, yes, it was an ET Now exclusive that we had done, and it's in the papers as well. Carlyle is likely to invest close to around 5,000 crore in Axis Bank. This would be an investment by a combination of equity and warrants, and there is a likelihood that a board seat would also be part of the deal. Do recall that Axis Bank has recently raised nearly around 10,000 crore via QIP, which did get significant response from various investors. It saw marquee investors like Norges Bank, Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, and Fidelity come into the QIP, and now it's likely to be a 5,000 crore investment from the Carlyle. In fact, if you look at the Axis Bank, the reason that they, of course, want to raise capital is the same, that they want to further strengthen their balance sheet. They had the COVID is likely to lead to a huge amount of NPA stress for not just Axis Bank and also for the entire banking system. And hence, we are seeing a lot of the banks as well as NBFCs raising capital, and Axis Bank also would be raising capital. Axis Bank in the last 12 months has raised close to around 22,500 crore worth of equity, and it has used nearly around 6,900 crore to make excess provisions due to the COVID-19 situation. In fact, we also understand that if we look at the Axis Bank, we have seen that their capital adequacy ratio has improved recently, and it would further improve post another round of capital from the Carlyle. It was an 18-hour exclusive that we broke just a few weeks back, and this is likely to be announced over the next couple of weeks itself. Suresh Ganpati, who is Macquarie analyst, says that even though around 10% of the loan book is under moratorium, which is ending 31st of August, it is not less than the street estimate of 20 to 25%. The challenge, though, for banks like Axis will be collections. Additionally, we need to see how much of moratorium to customers pay. So as such, the reason for the entire capital raising is to strengthen the balance sheet, Varun, and we would be watching out for Carlyle investment also in Axis Bank.
Okay, thank you, Poonam. Let's get a move on. The next story of this morning, again on page 1 of the Economic Times. FP Oversight Board will investigate a political bias case. The Oversight Board is empowered to make binding and independent decisions on many of the most challenging content issues on Facebook and Instagram. Good morning, Chandra. Welcome to the show. Could you walk us through the story, please?
Yeah. You hear me?
Yeah, Chandra, you're audible to us. Please go ahead.
Oversight Board was formed after multiple controversies, including the one involving Cambridge Analytica, and this will begin operations in the next few months. Now, a board spokesperson has told ET that how Facebook treats posts from public figures that may violate community standards are also within the scope of this board. So hate speech is included in this, and we will not shy away from the tough cases and holding Facebook accountable, and that the Oversight Board is empowered to make binding and independent decisions on many of the challenging content issues on Facebook and Instagram. Now, this Oversight Board was formed in May 2020 after multiple controversies hit Facebook. It has about 20 members, but there are questions from US lawmakers on how independent this Oversight Board is, what the scope of their investigation can be. Now, this Oversight Board is yet to begin operations, but they have said that the current controversy that's rocked Facebook in India, that they have failed to apply hate speech rules to some of the BJP leaders, will also fall under the scope of the Oversight Board. So we have to wait and see what kind of decisions they take with respect to content moderation, if Facebook has violated the rules, or if they showed political bias in some of these decisions. And they are going to kick off operations sometime this year. So once the Oversight Board comes into place, once they have more members, then we will see them taking action in this regard. But remember, the political heat is already on Facebook. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on IT wants to summon them. You also have the Delhi Aam Aadmi Party that wants to summon Facebook in this regard. So Facebook yet again in the eye of the storm in India, years after the Cambridge Analytica scandal rocked Facebook here.
Okay, Chandra, thank you for that. Let's move on. Again, page 1 at the Economic Times. The BCCI and Dream11 resolved a hitch over the title sponsorship of the 13th edition of the IPL, paving the way for the fantasy gaming company to replace Vivo. Dream11 agreed to be the sponsor for 2020 only and dropped a demand that it should be automatically given the rights for the next 2 years if Vivo opts out in 2021 and 2022 as well. So for all you cricket fans out there, that's just an interesting development. Page 1 of the Economic Times. Do have a look. Okay, again, page 1 of the Economic Times. Seems to be quite a headline kind of day. Adani Green making headlines this time. And they're in discussions with foreign lenders to raise $1.35 billion US Standard Chartered, JP Morgan, Barclays, and QNB are said to be among the entities approached to fund the upcoming projects. But however, Vivek, my colleague, is going to join in now with all the further details.
Well, good morning, Varun. So this particular development is important as far as Adani Green Energy is concerned. Now, Adani Green Energy very recently has won projects, and these are 4 significant projects which will be executed and which will begin in the next 2 years. And now what is actually going to happen is that the company has gone in for a very good funding deal where the company is looking to raise around $1.35 billion, and this is through an offshore loan through some of the banks you raised or some of the banks that you named, including Standard Chartered, JP Morgan, Barclays, QNB. Now, what is the company is actually going to do is that the company will be employing a very unique go-to-market financing plan that actually includes an initial loan from a group of foreign banks, the banks that we named, and these loans will actually be repaid well before maturity because the company will be using the proceeds of a future already planned bond sale. And now you're talking about some of the key projects that the company has. These include power purchase agreements with Solar Energy Corporation of India and also its own group company, Adani Electricity India. So now these terms, according to the paper, most likely would be finalized in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And now the company will have a total estimated capacity of close to 1.7 gigawatts. So it's a significant development as far as Adani Green Energy is concerned.
Okay, Vivek, thank you so much for walking us through that important story. We'll see how that counter holds up in trade today. Okay, next one, page 4 of the Economic Times. The handset manufacturing industry expects to recruit some 50,000 direct employees by December end, with the production-linked incentive schemes starting to move the hiring machines for the likes of Foxconn, Wistron, Samsung, and local players as well, such as Dixon and Lava. So a lot happening in that space. Do have a look. Page 4 of the Economic Times if you are interested. Okay, now page 5, the markets page of the Economic Times, has a very interesting story, and my colleague Jayesh is going to walk us through this story, but let me just give you the introduction. Apple has become the first US company to hit a $2 trillion market value. To give you some perspective, that's nearly the size of India's economy. It was another milestone for the maker of iPhones, Mac, and Apple Watches, cementing its title and punctuating how the pandemic has been a bonanza for the tech giants. But good morning, Jayesh. Welcome to the show. How big an achievement is this for Apple, and what's it going to do to the rest of the tech stocks?
Good morning, Varun. At the outset, let me just say that, there might be a slight bit of bias while I say good things about Apple, because it has taken 42 years to reach the 1 trillion value mark to Apple. And what happened in the next 2 years was phenomenal. It got from 1 trillion to 2 trillion. So that's the differential that we are talking about. That's the value that has been created in the past 2 years. What's even more stunning is that all of the second trillion, that has come in just about 21 weeks. I was looking at the chart of Apple. It has surged 200% from the 52-week low. And remember, this is the world's largest company that we are talking about, not a mid and a small cap tech stock that can, fly around 100%, 200%. This is the world's largest stock that we are referring to. Of course, the other milestone for the Apple iPhone maker is that it has now become the world's most valuable public traded company. Earlier in the year, we did see Aramco take that spot from Apple, but Aramco's market value has declined steadily from over 2 trillion to less than 2 trillion. And while on the other hand, we have seen a massive surge in Apple share prices. What it actually means for other tech giants is that, every investor is now ready to pour in billions of dollars into these tech giants, especially the top 5 US-based company. In light of the coronavirus pandemic that has hit the world, there has been a resurgence of the IT sector that we have seen. Just to give you perspective of how much value they have created, the top 5 stocks, their combined value has grown about $3 trillion since 23rd of March, which is nearly the same as the next 50 most valuable companies. And these 50 companies include, the likes of Berkshire Hathaway, Walmart, as well as Disney. So these are not small companies that we are referring to, but indeed a big achievement as far as Apple is concerned.
Oh, most definitely, Jayesh. What an achievement, really. Thank you for bringing us that interesting story, and it'll be interesting to see how that particular company holds up the rest of the indices, which seem to be taking a bit of a breather right now. But the next story kind of follows on from what I just said. It's again a market story, so page 5 of the Economic Times. And the Fed may keep an aggressive stimulus measure. As the path to recovery seems uncertain, policymakers eye swift improvement in the labour market as countries resolve to reopen. Policymakers are also trying to amend the Fed's framework with tweaks in periodic statements of longer-run goals and monetary policy strategy. If you look at the Dow futures right now, they're down. If you look at the SGX, we're about to see the Nifty open possibly with the gap down. That's because some really bearish commentary came out of the Fed minutes last night. For the first time, we're seeing a real reversal of opinion in the US, where the focus has really shifted from that short-term stimulus, which is just driving the markets to new highs every day, to analysis of long-term economic deterioration, where the Fed said that now the long-term economic outlook looks fairly grim. So this marks quite a reversal. It'll be interesting to see how the respective global and domestic indices react in the weeks to come. Okay, with that being said, we're now going to move over to page 9 of the Economic Times. And the GST Council is likely to hold a special meeting later this month to discuss compensation cess to the states. Remember, compensation cess to the states has been a cause of friction between the centre and the states over the last few months. What else is on the agenda at the meeting? Ruchi Bhatia is here with more.
The GST Council will be meeting on the 27th of August to decide a way forward with respect to drawing up funds in the compensation kitty. Remember, the states and the centre were in a huddle to decide a way forward with respect to drawing funds in the compensation kitty, so much so that even states had threatened legal action against the centre as well. The centre, after the last GST Council meeting, had also sought the opinion of the Attorney General, and the country's top law officer had opined that the central government has no obligation to pay for the GST compensation shortfall. In fact, the AG had put the ball in the court of the GST Council and had said that the GST Council has to decide a way forward on making good the shortfall in the GST compensation. We're given to understand that various options will be on the table, including the option of market borrowing, including other options of either hiking the percentage of cess or increasing the number of goods in the cess basket. These are some of the options that various states have also recommended to the centre. Besides this, we're given to understand another GST Council meeting will take place on the 19th of September. They will be looking at other issues, including the issue of intrastate e-way bills for gold as well.
Okay, thanks for that, Ruchi. But now on to the AGR case. Banks are seeking to recover over 40,000 crore in loans from Reliance Communications, and that's IRCTC we're talking about, which has now told the Supreme Court that the telco may go into liquidation if the right to use spectrum cannot be transferred through the insolvency resolution process. Appearing for Jio and the COC, the Committee of Creditors regarding the sale of spectrum by the insolvent companies IRCTC and Aircel, Harish Salve told the SC that if the spectrum sale is not allowed, then IRCTC will find itself going into liquidation, which won't help anyone. He also said that IRCTC is not seeking to run away from paying its AGR dues by hiding behind the IBC, but Abhimanyu is here to walk us through more.
Appearing for lenders of IRCTC led by the State Bank of India, senior lawyer Harish Salve submitted that the resolution applicant UVARC for IRCTC may back out of the bid if DOT does not give its nod for the sale of the right to use spectrum, which is held by a telecom company. He contended that the right to use spectrum is an asset which is acquired by the telecom company and is classified as an important asset. However, he maintained that spectrum as a natural resource cannot be sold. The top court had questioned that how would assets be apportioned and how would government dues be protected, since government dues are classified as operational dues according to the IBC and according to the waterfall mechanism which was stated yesterday by Harish Salve. The hearing in this case is going to continue tomorrow. It remains to be seen what further submissions would be made by other senior counsels in this case. Also, the top court verdict on the timeline of AGR payments to be made by various telecom companies is eagerly awaited by the telecom and the banking sector.
Okay, thanks for that, Abhimanyu. As we wind down the show, let's get you the top 5 headlines from the Times of India. Beginning with the fact that the health now tops non-life insurance business. A record 70,000 fresh COVID cases in one day. Food delivery regains 80% of pre-COVID sales. MS pulls the plug on Internet Explorer. Fresh LAC talks with China today. With that, I think we've come to the end of the newspaper show this morning, so thank you so much for tuning in. Keep it with ET Now for the market coming up at 8 a.m. But before that, news for the hearing impaired.